Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Adda. So today I'm going to create a Spring Boot consumer application. So in the earlier video, I have briefed about the Apache Kafka, created a whole Apache Kafka video where I showed you that how you can create the topics, how you can produce and consume from the topics. Then I created one Spring Boot publisher application and we try to publish some messages from the publisher application APIs, and then we were able to see that how we are able to get those messages in the consumer. So now in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a consumer application, and whatever data that we are sending from the publisher, that will be consumed by the consumer application. So both application will be working fine. So let me go and let me try to develop this. So let me go to the file and let me try to create the application here. So let's say it is Kafka consumer application. Okay, now let me go next. Let me use this is starter dependencies, and we also need the Kafka. So Spring for Kafka. Okay, now let me go and create this application. So it will take few seconds to configure itself. Once it is configured, we can start our development. So here what I will do, I will try to create the APIs, and using that API, we'll try to see that how this application is consuming the messages from the publisher. Okay, so first of all, what I need to do, I need to do some configurations. Okay, and after that, we'll try to create the API, and then we'll see how it is working. Let me go and open this and then see. So it is not yet configured. So let me try to close it and then open again. So let me go open recent Apache consumer. Okay, let me open in a new tab. It will load in the form of Maven. So here will it will prompt something and then Maven load, something like that. Load Maven project. Okay. Okay, so I think it is resolving the dependency that we have added. Once it is resolved, what we can do, we can try with our development. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create the configuration class. Okay, after that, I will try to create the APIs. So let me close this and then come to the source main and Java. Let me try to create a package called config. Okay, and let me try to create a package called controller, or let's say we are not going to create the controller. In the main class only I'm going to call the APIs here. So let me create a class called configuration class. Okay, let me edit. Okay, now let me annotate this with configuration. Now let me, so what we need to do, we need to create the bean of consumer factory and the bean of concurrent Kafka listener container factory. So we need to create bean of these two. Okay, after that only what we'll do, we'll try to uh, create the APIs. So let me create the bean public consumer factory. Okay, let me provide here string and a string. So let me name this to the consumer factory, and then here we need to do some configuration. So let me create a map first. Okay, map of a string, an object. Okay, let's say it's a map, and or let's say it's a config. New hash map. Let me import the map here. Okay, now let me try to do the configuration. So on the config, we need to put consumer config dot bootstrap service server config. So here in the bootstrap server config, what will provide the uh, localhost URL on which the Kafka is working. So for us, the Kafka is working on the port number 9092. In the earlier, this is the default port for the Kafka. In the command, I already used the 9092. So we need to do this configuration. So this is the configuration for the port number. So let me use consumer config dot bootstrap server config, and the server URL is localhost, and the yeah, it's a localhost 9092. Okay, now let me configure other things also. So it is, let me copy paste it out and then try to do. So let me copy it. Now come down and paste it out. I need to do couple of configurations. So let me do. So it is the second configuration is to consumer config dot key deserializer class config. So here we are using deserializer. So whatever message we are getting from the topic, we need to deserialize it. So let's say key deserializer class config, and here we are using the string. So that is why I need the string deserializer class here. So string deserializer. We were producing the string on the topic, so we are using string here. Now coming to the value deserializer class config. So we are using a string. So let me copy this and let me remove this. Okay, now coming to the last configuration, which is a group ID config. So we are using group ID to define the let's say data type. So here we are using a string. Sometimes we can also use the raw data. Sometimes we can use the JSON. So for that we need to define the data type, group ID config. So let's say for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a group ID config for the streams, and I'm naming it like let's say engineering adda 1, something like that. Now what I need to, we are done with the configuration. What I will do, I will try to return the object of default Kafka Consumer Factory. So here you can see, and here what we need to do, pass, we need to pass the config here. So let me pass it out and then let me return it. Now what we need to do, we need to pass this consumer factory method inside the concurrent Kafka listener container factory. So we are using concurrent Kafka listener container factory to configure to get the beans of it, and with the help of this concurrent Kafka listener container factory only, we are uh, trying to get the data from the topic. So let me create the bean of it. Bean public concurrent Kafka listener container factory. First one, and here what we need to pass a string, and the value is also string. Let me Kafka listener container factory. Okay. Now what I need to do, I need to create a object of it. So this is the method. Now let me create Kafka listener factory, new Kafka listener factory. Okay, let me minimize this so that I can show you. Okay, now let me put it down. So we are creating the object of Kafka concurrent Kafka listener container factory, and what I will do here, I will try to set the uh, con consumer factory here. So we'll try to pass out the consumer factory that we have created above, and then we'll return it. So let's say dot set consumer factory, and this is the consumer factory. We are getting the object from here of the consumer factory. Let me try to call it, and we'll simply return this object of the concurrent Kafka listener container factory. So let me return it. Now we are done with the configuration. Now let me go to create the APIs. So for APIs, okay, let me go here. Let me come to the main class. Let me annotate this with the @rest controller, and I need to create a list of like array list of or list of string, so that whatever messages that the producer has produced to the topic, we can get it from the topic and then publish it. Like consumer can get it from the topic and then consume it. So I'm creating a list, okay, and in that list we'll see what all the messages that the consumer is able to consume from the topic. Okay, so let's say it's a list of a string. Okay, let's say its name is messages, new array list. Okay, now let me create a API get mapping. Okay, let me create the method here. Get message from topic, get message from topic. Oh, sorry, topic. Okay, now its return type should be list of strings. So let me do that. Okay, let me import the list here. Okay, so and we are passing the data here. So, and whatever, okay, so I will do some configuration here and then I will show you. So, sorry, this get mapping is getting the message from the topic, okay, and let's say this is the method get message from the topic, okay, now, and we are passing the data here, and we are simply returning the message, return messages. Okay, let me remove this. We are not passing any data. We are simply getting the data and in the form of message and then returning the message. And this in this message, we'll try to add all the data streams that are there on the topic. And let me create the API here. So let's say it's consume something like that. Consume from topic. Okay. So how this is the this is the API that will try to hit to get the message from the topic. Okay. Now how we can consume the message from the topic. So for that we need to create a method, and that method would be annotated with Kafka listener so that it can listen to the topic. So let me create the method first. So let's say it's a public list of a string. Okay. Now let me name it. So let's say message from consume from topic, something like that. Consume from topic. Okay. Let me pass the data here, and let me do the configuration first. So it should be configure with Kafka listener so that it can listen the messages from the topic. So, and here in the topic, what we need to do, we need to provide in the Kafka listener, we need to provide the group ID and the topic from which the message to be listened. Okay, and the we need to provide the bean container factory bean. So these three things that we need to provide here. So let me provide it. So let's say group ID. What is the group ID that we have provided here? So the group ID is this. So let me copy it from here. Come to the main class. Let me provide the group ID here. Now coming to the topic. So let's say what was the topic that we have created. So the topic that I have created is engineering adda. So I'm using that. So let's say engineering adda, and then what we need to provide the bean name of the container factory. So let's say container factory, and the name was Kafka listener container factory. Okay, let me go to the configuration, and this is the name. So copy it, come here, and let provide it. So now what it is doing, it is getting the data from the topic, and it is simply adding it in the message list. So let me call the message here dot add, and then pass the data here, and then return the message. Okay, so we are done with the configuration. So we are getting the data from the topic, and with this git mapping, what we are doing, we are displaying all the data which we get from the topic. Okay, So now let me show you. I already have this zookeeper and server up, and I also showed you that I have created this topics. Okay, now coming to the consumer, I have sent couple of data from the publisher, and we can see that it is coming to the consumer. Now let me try to run the publisher and then send the data from the publisher and then try to run the topic and then sorry, try to run the consumer and then see how the consumer is behaving, if it is getting the data which is published by the publisher or not. So first of all, let me run this. Okay, let me change the server port. So let's say the port is 9000 or 9001, 9001, and then let me run this application. So once this application is up, we'll try to send some message stream from the publisher, and then we'll try to see how it is behaving, if those things are able to consume by the consumer or not. So you can see this is up. Okay, now let me try to hit the API first and then show you what is coming. So let me go to the main class. This is the API. Let me copy it. Application is up on the port. Okay, let me open again. So the application was up on the port 9001. So and the API for this is, so we are not able to see any data now. Okay, now let me try to send couple of data from the publisher. So here you can see publisher is up and the publisher is up on the port number. Okay, let me see. It is 8080, I think. Yeah, it is 8080, and this is the API for the publisher. So let me copy the API. Now come to the browser. Let me try to make the URL here localhost 8080 and then pass it, and then we need to pass the name. So let's say this time I'm passing the name as Akash. Okay, and then send it. So it is not working. Okay, let me come here to the publisher and let's see what is happening. So okay, it is API here that we are not using in the URL. So let me try to do that. API slash get message slash name. So you can see data is published by the publisher. Now coming to the consumer. Okay, let's say how it is behaving, because from so many hours it is not touched. So I don't know if it is working or not. So let me try to get this data what we have published from the application that we created, that is the consumer application. So right now I showed you that the consumer application was not having any data. Now what I did, I just sent the data from the publisher, and let me try to run this API. Let me try to hit this URL of the consumer and let's see. So you can see this time we are able to see that whatever data that we published from the publisher, the consumer is able to consume it. Now let me try to publish some another data. So let's say name is Neha and let me send it. Now coming to the consumer, let me refresh it. You can see we are able to get the message from the publisher. So whatever messages that we are sending from the publisher, we are able to consume by the consumer. Okay, so you can also see all those things here, but it is freezed, I think. This is the consumer portal. consumer console. So you can see all these messages that is sent by the publisher to the consumer, but it is freeze now. Let me try to close it and then okay, you can see it now. Akash, welcome to engineering, and Neha, welcome to engineering. So everything is working now. So we are done with the development of consumer application and it is working fine. Okay, let me close this. Okay, so we are done with the development of the consumer application and it is working fine. So if you need this code base, I will push this code to the GitHub and from there you can find it out. I will pin the link of the GitHub in the comment section. Okay, and if you like this video, then please hit the like button and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.